Lesson 7 for February 8 through 14, From the Lion's Den to the Angel's Den, read by Dr. Percy Harrold. Thursday, February 13, Vindication. Question. Read Daniel chapter 6, verses 24 to 28. What testimony does the king give about God? And the king gave the command, and they brought those men who had accused Daniel, and they cast them into the den of lions, them, their children, and their wives. And the lions overpowered them and broke all their bones in pieces before they ever came to the bottom of the den. Then King Darius wrote, To all peoples, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth, peace be multiplied to you. I make a decree that in every dominion of my kingdom men must tremble and fear before the God of Daniel. For he is the living God, and steadfast forever. His kingdom is the one which shall not be destroyed, and his dominion shall endure to the end. He delivers and rescues, and he works signs and wonders in heaven and on earth, who has delivered Daniel from the power of the lions. So this Daniel prospered in the reign of Darius, and in the reign of Cyrus the Persian. An important point of the narrative is the fact that Darius praises God and recognizes God's sovereignty. This is a culmination, even a climax, of the praises or expressions of recognition offered to God in the previous chapters. Let's look at them in Daniel 2, verses 20 to 23. Daniel answered and said, Blessed be the name of God for ever and ever, for wisdom and might are his, and he changes the times and the seasons. He removes kings and raises up kings. He gives wisdom to the wise, and knowledge to those who have understanding. He reveals deep and secret things. He knows what is in the darkness, and light dwells with him. I thank you and praise you, O God of my fathers. You have given me wisdom and might. You have now made known to me what we asked of you, for you have made known to us the king's demand. And Daniel 3, verses 28 and 29, Nebuchadnezzar spoke, saying, Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who sent his angel and delivered his servants who trusted in him. And they have frustrated the king's word and yielded their bodies, that they should not serve nor worship any god except their own God. Therefore I make a decree that any people, nation, or language which speaks anything amiss against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut in pieces, and their houses shall be made an ash heap, because there is no other God who can deliver them. In Daniel 4, verses 1 to 3. Nebuchadnezzar the king, to all peoples, nations, and languages that dwell in all the earth, peace be multiplied to you. I thought it good to declare the signs and wonders that the Most High God has worked for me. How great are his signs, and how mighty his wonders! His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and his dominion is from generation to generation. And Daniel 4, verses 34 to 37. And at the end of time, I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted my eyes to heaven, and my understanding returned to me, and I blessed the Most High, and praised and honoured him who lives forever. For his dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom is from generation to generation. All the inhabitants of the earth are reputed as nothing. He does according to his will in the army of heaven, and among the inhabitants of the earth. No one can restrain his hand or say to him, What have you done? At the same time my reason returned to me, and for the glory of my kingdom my honour and splendour returned to me. My counsellors and nobles resorted to me. I was restored to my kingdom, and excellent majesty was added to me. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, praise and extol and honour the King of heaven. All of his works are truth, and his ways justice, and those who walk in pride he is able to put down. Like Nebuchadnezzar, Darius responds to Daniel's deliverance by praising God. But he does more, too. He reverses his previous decree and commands everyone to fear before the God of Daniel in Daniel 6:26. Yes, Daniel is miraculously saved, his faithfulness rewarded, evil punished, and God's honour and power vindicated. But what we see here is a mini example of what will happen on a universal scale. God's people delivered, evil punished, and the Lord vindicated before the cosmos. Question. Read Daniel 6:24. What might we find rather troublesome about this verse, and why? Daniel 6, beginning at verse 4. And the king gave the command, and they brought those men who had accused Daniel, and they cast them into the den of lions, them, their children, and their wives, and the lions overpowered them, and broke all their bones in pieces, before they ever came to the bottom of the den. There is, however, one disturbing problem, and that is the wives and the children, who, as far as we know, are innocent, and yet who suffer the same fate as the guilty ones. How can we explain what seems to be a mishandling of justice? First, we should note that the action is decided and implemented by the king according to Persian law, which includes the family in the punishment of the culprit. According to an ancient principle, the entire family bears responsibility for the offence of a family member. This doesn't mean that it's right. It means only that this story fits with what we know about Persian law. Second, we must note that the biblical narrative reports the event, but does not endorse the action of the king. In fact, the Bible clearly forbids that children be put to death because of the sins of the parents, as we read in Deuteronomy 24, verse 16. Fathers shall not be put to death for their children, nor shall children be put to death for their fathers. A person shall be put to death for his own sin. So to finish the day, in the face of injustices such as this and so many others, what comfort can you get from such texts as 1 Corinthians 4 verse 5? What does it say, and why is the point it makes so important? 1 Corinthians 4 verse 5, Therefore judge nothing before the time, until the Lord comes, who will both bring to light the hidden things of darkness and reveal the counsels of the hearts. Then each one's praise will come from God. This lesson was read by Dr. Percy Harrold for Christian Services for the Blind and Hearing Impaired, Christian Record Services for the Blind, the Sabbath School Department, and Hope Channel. You can also listen on the official Sabbath School 4 app and the Apple iTunes app, Sabbath School with Percy Harrold. Remember, God is always faithful.